everyone. I'm Micky from PANews, and we are one of the top blockchain media in Chinese. So I'm very honored to be here and to be the moderator of this panel. So today we will talk about the PMF. So would you like to start from a brief self-introduction, please? Yeah, you can.
Oh, start with me, yes. So my name is Ming Guo. I'm the chief scientist and co-founder of ZKM, where we build ZKVM for the next super cycle of crypto and Web3. We also incubated House of ZK, which we hosted multiple very successful events for the space of ZK and Web3.
Okay, Claire, please.
Yeah. Hey, hello everyone. I'm Claire from EthSign, co-founder and head of product. So basically at EthSign we do two things. First, we write on-chain attestation, we bring off-chain data on-chain. Second, we do asset distribution, we help with projects airdrop, token vesting for investors.
Yes, please.
Perfect. Hey everybody, Ryan Levy here, VP of BD Partnerships at Datahaven. Most of you hopefully have heard about Datahaven. We're about to hit testnet actually. So we're an AI-first verifiable storage platform. And what we're setting out to do is actually solve for a number of problems that we see today around AI agents, sensitive data.
What's up, everyone? Francesco, I'm leading developer relation at Consensys, so that's the umbrella company of Metamask, Linea, Infura, and a bunch of other products. And I'm excited. This is like the first shortest panel title that I ever did. So let's dive in. Okay,
so as we all know, PMF in Web3 world is a little bit different from the Web2 world. So it's not about just satisfying the user needs, but also aligning the incentives of a multi-sided network of stakeholders like users, developers, token holders, and validators. So the first question is about the core of product market fit is solving the real problem. So for each of your project, what was the specific deeply felt problem you initially set out to solve? And how has your understanding of this problem evolved over time? Yeah, please, Ming.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with ZKM and also what PMF, right? You actually touched a nerve in our space, which is a fundamental challenge. Is that I think product market fit is not just different from Web2. Web3 doesn't really have one because for the sake of it, it started with a ledger, right? So what's the product market fit of ledger, right? You probably would. I still remember back in 2014, I kind of started entering this space, going to a study group at PayPal, eBay, of course because they're interested in this. So eventually, this is gonna be a very different, supposedly decentralized, concepts people never heard of. But today we're talking about something. We use the word, the phrase Web3. It's like a big thing, it's universal. But ledger is not universal. I think you don't really have a market that's mature enough for you to enter, and then you can just focus on your marketing, and then you build your tech stack. In our space is a bit like early days of the web or early days of, let's say, nuclear fusion, technology, which is we all know how good it will be, how well it will change our society forever, but technology is still not mature enough. So how do you build in such an environment? So you probably need to build infra. You probably need to build product. And of course, you also have to care for your stakeholders because it's not just as simple as before. You have VCs and you just have several stakeholders to answer for. Now you have a community, right? They all probably have a stake in your venture, or all your users, stakeholders too, right? In decentralized, everyone is everyone is everything at the same time. They're stakeholders, they're users, they're traders, they're peer-to-peer. It's like a cell. Every unit has all the aspects, everything. So this is very different from traditional business. So okay, let me just pull myself back. So for ZKM, we answered that. We try to answer that fundamental question: is beyond ledger, what it will be. So we decided it would be universal computation. So when you have universal computation that you can prove that you can make decentralized in a programmable way, you can have a web scale application market beyond ledgers. So everything needs to have a consensus, not just ledger, not just money or NFT for that matter, anything like a turn in a game, a dispute, anything in life that can be converted to a compute, which is already the case, because we do everything on our phone, and it's fundamental. And AI, fundamentally behind it's all compute, right? So if we can do that, then we can have a shot at making like a universal compute market, which can fit every use case. Then we can talk about the real PMF, in a real in old sense, right? So, but I said, we have to do everything that's all the same. We have to build the infra. We have to build the product, and also, product is also a big challenge because Web3 doesn't have a killer app that's new, right? It's like email. Email is not a new product because we have snail mail, right? But TikTok is new, right? There's nothing like that before. Web3 doesn't have that. Web3 has the wallets. You have exchanges. You have formal 3D. Those things exist before, right? So we need something that never existed before, and it has to be built on a mass scale with the compute capacity, and someone with that spark, right? Like that simple spark start a new killer app that never existed before. And so we have to build all of them together, right? That's the challenge, but that's also the way of the Web3, right? It's like peer-to-peer. Remember, everything has to have everything. You have to have the DNA of grow into anything you want, right? So so start from the scratch. We just built this simple from a starting point. ZKM is a virtual machine that can have its compute trace proved, and this can be ledger, can be gaming, can be anything. And then upon this, you can build a new killer app that never existed before. We still wait for someone to build it, but we want to be going all the way with the ecosystem, the network, and that's what I think about PMF.
Okay, thank you. So Claire, please.
Okay, for me, I think a lot of people say that PMF are different in Web3 and Web2, but to me and my journey at EthSign, we have been building stuff for 4 years. I feel like for me, PMF is just after you build a product, how many people will actually use it, right? If you don't pay them, if you don't do airdrop, how many people will actually go to your website and try out the product and they will come back? And the next level of interaction is how many of them are willing to pay for your service. That's, I think to us, it's simple as that. And with my journey started from, I think originally we have the logo of EthSign. That's actually our first product. It's 4 years ago when I was still a student at college. We thought we should do something at a hackathon. And at that time, in crypto space, people just raise money from VC, and then the VC would say, oh, that's a cool idea, and I'll transfer you crypto, and then hope for the best, and that's it. We thought we should bring something, at least bring some trust to the space. And that's how we had our first idea called EthSign, which is a contract signing platform, but instead of doing everything centralized, we have a record of your signature with the PDF, we encrypt it and put it on chain. That's our first product. And later we thought if you can sign contract, put it on chain, now we have, by the way, we now have over 2 million users for EthSign. And we thought, okay, if you can sign a PDF, put it on chain, you can basically sign everything. That's how we evolve into an attestation protocol. It sounds like complicated, but actually it's just formatted data, you put it on chain, as simple as that. And then for the initial group of users we served for EthSign were Web3 founders who were raising money from VC, and they are starting to TGE, and they are finding ways to distribute token to their community, find a way to invest their token to their VC, and then we started to do token table, which would distribute token according to their legal contracts to the stakeholders. That's how we evolved our product, and we make sure that people who actually use our product are benefiting from it, and that's what we think about PMF.
Okay, thank you, Francesco.
Great. So I think I heard you ask two questions. One is, what did we set out to solve?
Yeah.
And two is, what does product market fit even look like in Web3? So What did we set out to solve? We looked at the age-old conundrum of broken telephone. So if you look at the proliferation of AI and AI agents today, you know, one of the biggest things that these agents do is they need to rely firstly on some form of data. Secondly, they make decisions on the data. Thirdly, they may take those decisions, hand those off to another agent, and that agent makes another decision, and so on and so forth. But what if at somewhere along the line, whether it's right at the beginning or 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps in, there's a level of corruption, a level of nefarious behavior? What if there is some modification or tampering of the data itself? And so where we come in is we get to actually solve for this verifiable layer. The ability to actually verify the authenticity of the data from beginning to end, from inception of the journey all the way through to the end. In the same way that we're seeing a lot of this verifiability solutions in the market around verifiable compute, around verifiable communications. So we've seen the compute layer solved, we've seen the communications layer solved. What we're solving for is the data layer, ensuring that you have credibility, authenticity, we're mitigating any kind of tampering, and we're ensuring censorship resistance. Then your second question around product market fit. So I'm definitely not one to shy away from controversy. I am going to disagree. I think we do actually have quite a lot of product market fit in Web3, but it depends on how you actually define that. So it's great to have users use your product. Fantastic. Exactly as you were saying, you can incentivize them, you can token incentivize them or whatever else. That's not product market fit. Getting users to use your product and then talk to their friends about it, fantastic. The biggest piece when that is a signal for me around product market fit is, can you retain the users? Would these users test out the product? Will they pay to use the product? Will they come back and use the product again? And once you get to that point, you're then both recognizing revenue generation for yourself, and you're maintaining and acquiring additional users per se. And so what we've set out to also add into our whole model is, one, there's revenue generation on our end, and it's not just around token distribution or whatever else, or token emissions. But we've also set up a model where people building on top of Datahaven, people building these what we call main storage providers and these front-end apps actually have the opportunity to generate revenue for themselves. So we look at revenue generation for ourselves, we look at revenue generation for those building with us, so the devs, the validators, the node operators, and the app creators as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on the revenue kind of angle, right? A lot of people kind of think about kind of sustainable product, need to just generate value for community, but I think also like having also these stats is super important. And I think like on the product side, I can chime in a bit on the wallet, on the Metamask side, right? I think payments, lending is the biggest kind of like use case out there. Remittance is the biggest use case out there. This is something like of reference of Metamask being one of the first, right? Like is the Web3, like the door to everything Web3, right? So I think like the question is only like where is most like PMF used, right? So closing the loop, for example, I'm being very enthusiastic about off-ramping, like with the card, for example, like doing off-chain and off-ramping with a non-custodial wallet. I think is a very strong value proposition. So I think like, the PMF need to kind of like split out on different use case. Retention, I think is super important. I'm aligned also what you were saying, Claire, on kind of like sustainable. I think Web 2, Web 1, Web 3, Web 4, investing in product doesn't kind of like investing in Web 3, investing in Web 2 and Web 1 is the same kind of like concept, right? Product is not the main thesis. Distribution is key. There is a lot of like every cycle I kind of like change my mind, but I think especially now with the entire kind of like vibe coding, prototyping in 2 hours kind of things, I'm looking a lot of like team chemistry around kind of like funding ecosystem and distribution are key. So there is a lot of like puzzle that change, but I think fundamental doesn't change as an investable product, as a profitable product to find PMF, and retention. I think retention is definitely like there. And I think also like the community side is definitely something that is very powerful in Web3 on this side, right? That is probably like the most kind of like advantage in compared to other kind of like, you know, Web 1 or Web 2 rails. But yeah, that's kind of like my thinking.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is still for Francesco. And so, in the current competitive landscape of multi-chain and multi-wallet solutions, so what do you consider to be MetaMask core mode? And in the future, will you depend this mode by continuously integrating new features, or are there any other strategies to maintain and expand your PMF?
Yeah, I mean, we already started quite a long ago, right? I don't know if you heard about MetaMask snaps. So the idea is that there was a time that we had 20,000 open PR in our repo, right? And we say, okay, this is not sustainable. We are, I don't know, 800 people, but it's not sustainable keeping up with like feature requests, right? So we said, okay, let's enable community features to be built. So, and right now there is a bunch of like snaps being built, and snaps are basically community-driven features that are extend the functionality of what the extension does today. And you know, top snaps, interoperability snaps, were for example the Solana snap, the Starknet snaps. So a lot of non-EVM compatible snaps. And then kind of like the second level was kind of direct integration. We started to get into Solana native integration, security, acquisition, blockade. We were discussing about security. So a lot of like different kind of like feature extension. So yes, to answer your question, like there is a lot of like things that are happening, is already being started. You know, maintaining yourself competitive is also like offering not just different feature, but maintaining also what the community wants, right? There is a lot of things that we're working on. We're also super excited to announce in the future months. Yeah, no, I mean, personally, I'm very excited about, you know, closing the loop, off-ramping, non-custodial. I think it's something that is really like important. Stablecoin announcement with M0, Stripe, and Bridge is super important. I think like, you know, remittance is the biggest use case. So no matter what we're doing and speaking and debating about, you know, encryption models, like, you know, low layer business model need to be kind of solved, and we need to address those markets. And that's why also like stablecoin I think is the second biggest kind of like, you know, personal interest that I have, and the company moving in this direction is also like yeah, I'm very, very excited, right, to enable more markets, more feature, more off-ramping, and also interaction between dApps, but also centralized dApps, right? You know, sometimes, you know, people are a bit how do you say, kind of like criticizing, you know, oh, you were launching new layer one. Those are big companies, right? Tempo, but I think, you know, at the end, you have first different target persona. The people that were building products today, this echo chamber will not be the newcomers. So one thing is very important is that if this enable to get and distribute to not just businesses or POC, but also like to newcomers in the space, it's something that is good for everyone, right? One thing is very important here is that cross-chain interoperability is one topic. I'm very excited about stuff like Omni accounts. So we can't expose users. We need to abstract a lot of like infrastructure layer. What you said about also agents, I'm very bullish around standards. We need more trustless agent standard. I'm contributing to 8004. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but we need standard and kind of like a way to build those agentic ecosystem, right? And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So next question is for Ryan. And as we know, like Datahaven is an infrastructure, so your success is heavily depend on developer adoption. So in the early stage of the project, how did you identify and attract the first co-developers or projects to use your decentralized storage solution?
Yeah, great question. So one of the first things, and I guess this translates to any form of business, is identifying what the problem really is. And so talking to a number of developers, a number of projects, a number of ecosystem partners, a number of complementary infrastructure partners, we've had the opportunity to actually validate that the problem that we're trying to solve for, or the problem that we are solving for, is actually a problem. So that's the first part. The second part is, from a validation perspective, is it's not just the devs that we're excited about. We're super excited about the devs. We're super excited about people building. it's also, what about the alternate infrastructure players that come into play? As we were talking about these agent-to-agent communications, or working with sensitive data, critical data, think DeFi, healthcare data. We've even had validation from trusted execution environments, where a lot of the problems that we're solving for, or a lot of the problems that people are starting to solve for, you couldn't do beforehand. And now, with these devs building projects that are focused around AI agents, where they fit, which verticals they actually fit in, which translates both from Web 2 and to Web 3, we've had the opportunity to both validate what we're solving for, and we've had the opportunity to encourage developers to think outside of the box and actually build projects that will drive adoption and will solve for both the problem that we're solving for and even newer problems.
I think building also the standards, we have so many Rust developers accustomed to building agents in Web 2, so we need to make sure also like we are kind of like, you know, getting them on board with their own accustomed kind of like languages.
Yeah, it's exactly why I say this is not just a Web 3 problem. It's great that we can solve for Web 3. Reality is majority of the adopters are actually going to come from Web 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you.
So next question is for Clara. And I met Yan like 4 years before in Shanghai, and at that time you still named EthSign, and after that you rebranded as Sign. So at the first stage, like you expanding from a single function to a multi-faceted platform. So has your target user profile changed? And how do you define Sign's core user at this stage?
Hello. Yeah, I mean, 4 years ago, we were one single product company. We had EthSign as I said, a contract signing platform. And gradually, we like working together. We start to think, okay, now we are making this bigger thing. We should just rebrand to Sign entirely, and we have more product line. But each of the products serve one specific group of users. So not necessarily we're changing the target users, but we're just building more product lines. As I said, we have EthSign, which is still up and running. We're working with more company integrations where you will see some announcement coming out where companies are using EthSign internally for company employment contract or investment contract. And then later we have this product called Token Table, which is our most revenue generating product, where we serve founders to do airdrops and to do investor unlocks. I think the time when I knew that we found the product market fit for Token Table was, I think, 2 years ago when Tom is still very popular, but like super popular. Each of the Tom project had about by the way, for those who don't know what Tom is, that's a Tom network based on Telegram. For each of the mini apps, they have millions of users. And we were thinking if we should build on Tom because it was really hard to build on for smart contract. And we decided to do the first ones to build on Tom. And then because we were doing airdrop, and for each of these projects, airdrop was the core part of the project. It's literally called play to earn or tap to earn. So that's when we found our first millions of users. For each one claiming airdrops, we charge a slight fee for them to use our smart contract, and that's how we made our first part of the revenue. And we found the product market fit, we expand to other chains, we help more projects to do airdrop. And now we have launched our token in April, by the way, and after the TGE, we feel like now we have found our products. We have one part is writing data on chain, right? And the other part is distributing assets. Maybe we can group them together and build something even bigger. So now we're targeting to more traditional projects where they're looking to distribute asset to traditional people because they also have the need to write data on chain, like the credit data on chain. So that's something we're building right now that's focusing on bigger crowd. We're trying to find more product market fit, find more user crowd within the traditional market.
Okay, thank you. So the last question is for Ming, and the name of House of ZK is quite interesting. So it's like you carry a mission of community and education. So what role have community and content like your podcast played in helping complex deep tech projects like ZKM find its PMF?
Right, I have to say that yes, House of ZK was incubated at ZKM. It started as actually a hacker house, so that's what we call it, House of ZK. Yeah, but then it became a medium like community-based media community, and then since then we made it. Well, the founders of House ZK made it. It's independent. It's neutral. So make it. We try to make it really like community-owned, and also the content is also catering to the general challenge. So you mentioned education, of course, because ZK or whatever computing, they're very ivory tower like way, right? Like it's very academic, and most of the ZK conferences are really deep in not just tech, like it's so hard or like obscure, like even programmers, general purpose programmers programming web or even system programming. They don't understand it. It's really hard to build any ZK product. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, this is the future. The universal verifying computing is the kind of glue that make our space, Web3, to go beyond just a ledger, to be able to build anything, right? So that's sort of needed. And so education of the community is important, community of the developers, community of users. And also, there's one thing that's probably different from like a media platform in the space, is that we're, of course, there's a marketing part because we want to introduce to the community what people developer has built. But it's not just like a one-way avenue for like a general marketing kind of platform. We also invite people to co-create with us. I mentioned earlier that we need a killer app that's never existed before, not even existed before in Web 2, right? We're not going to build another formal 3D. We're not going to build another wallet, or those are important, of course. That's what Ledger and blockchain is all about. But general purpose computing, verified computing, you can build like new apps that never existed before. So we need them to co-create in that. We need them to sync with us. So that's why this platform is more engaging, like it's more philosophical in a way. And like we're also innovating, like what about like AI, right? So yesterday we hosted another House ZK where we adopted the ethos called verifying intelligence, right? So ZK is all about verifying. AI also needs verifying. So verifying intelligence is a very deterministic way to think in this space that everything needs to verify. Like, for example, like LLM is actually dead. The thinking is all done before, right? You pick the LLM, it's not a live brain. It's everything, it's already there, right? So in order to build like a intelligence agent that can actually live with us, right? Like anybody still, well, like seeing like in the sci-fi novels or movies that robots are like a part of us, right? So you need real-time feedback, and you need like that entropy, like live entropy, feed into it, which is beyond the scope of LM today. That's why, like, I think Web3, like a chain is also like a times, like it's providing that element, right? The direction, the arrow of time, which is the entropy that's sort of needed for the space. Well, all this thinking is what we want the community, the creators, as I said, everyone is both a creator, stakeholder, is everything. House ZK is doing that as its mission. Like, we want to build a shared vision, and that's our mission. All right.
Okay, thank you, and that's all for today's panel. And thank you all the panelists, and thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.